And I'm a very good parent, by the way. I'm a great parent. Just ask me, I'll tell you. And so as a 2-year-old or 1-year-old, what I would do is I'd give them an iPad, sit in front of them and say, there you go, have fun. Have at it. I'm a great parent. And so we were out to lunch, and I would always take the iPad, I'd put it down in front of him, and let him go at it. I'd have my moment of peace while I'm eating my food or whatever. He's like his mother and I. He likes to eat fancy foods, so we would go to these nice restaurants, and we're sitting there eating, and I sit down at the restaurant, and I realize something. I left the iPad in the car, and it's raining. And so we did this strange thing. It's called talking. We actually started talking to each other. We actually had a pretty good conversation, as much as you can have as an adult with a 2-year-old, but it was a good, insightful conversation. I remember us having a really good time, but also what I remember is on the table, they had those kind of paper placemats that you see sometimes at restaurants, and on the back of it, they have little games for the kids and things like that. And so he's about somewhere between 18 months and 2 years old, and so he starts filling out this little dot to dot, connect dot. It's the first time he'd ever seen one. Right? Now, I'm real smart, so I figured out instantly it's a puppy. Right? But my son, who was a little bit younger, first time seeing this, he didn't quite get what it was. So what he started doing was start going, just going, right? And what that helped me to understand is that's a lot like how we go about our marriage relationship. We don't know the picture. God knows the picture that he's trying to draw with our marriage relationship. And here we go, going from dot 1 to dot 5. And then from dot 5 down to dot 50. And we're zigzagging all over the place because we don't have God's vision. We don't see things the way that God does. We see things the way that we do. And we do what makes sense to us. So we're going to get married, then we're going to buy a house, and then we're going to get a job, and then we're going to move here, and then we're going to do this, then we're going to have this many kids, we're going to do this, and we have it all planned out. When do we seek God for his vision? So I'm going to share with you this idea, this understanding of a Christ-centered vision. Every word of that is important. Because many of us, I know a lot of you, many of us, we've seen vision statements before. They're on our jobs, they're in our social organizations, they're all over the place. We're familiar with, we know what a vision statement is. That's not a new concept. But I want us to help us to develop a Christ-centered vision, because our vision leads us in our own direction and therefore leaves us in our own strength. In Proverbs chapter 16, what happened to my Bible? I got another one. Proverbs chapter 16, these 3 verses are a lot of fun. A lot of fun in these 3 verses here in Proverbs. Proverbs 16. So look at these first 3 verses very quickly. It says this: the plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. If we had more time to talk and kind of chop it up a little bit, I'd ask you what that means, what you kind of get at us, but let me just kind of cut to it. We have our own plans, but God's the one who makes them come to pass. And so if I'm launching into my plans, when we start talking about a vision, and it's a my-centered vision instead of a Christ-centered vision, I know the plan. I know exactly what I want to do. It's my goal, it's my vision, because it makes sense to me. But it says that we have the actual plans, but God is the one who makes them come to pass. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. Listen to this one. This is one of my favorite verses. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 2. All the ways of a man are pure in his own eyes. If you ask me why I should be a multimillionaire, I can give you multiple reasons. Why do you need a bigger house, Ed? Oh, because if I had this house, I would just bless so many people. You know, why do you want a bigger car, a nicer car? Because safety is my concern. And so I want this car because it's the safest car. It's passed all the tests. That's why I want it. I want what I want because I want what I want, and it makes sense to me. It says in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 2, all of our ways to us, they're without error. They're clean in some translations, right? In his own eyes. But here's the other part of it. but the Lord weighs the motives, or the Lord weighs the spirit. You don't want that car because it's the safest car on the road. You want that car because you look good in it. You don't want that house because you're going to do all these wonderful things with these square foot. That's the story we may be telling ourselves, but God weighs the motives. So when we talking about our goals, our visions, and our mission, it really has to belong to the Lord and not to us, right? Because to me, it's always clean. It always makes sense. I'm always going to do the right thing with it. But God's saying, that's not really what's going on here. And if I don't ask the Lord, then the vision belongs to me. And I'm going in my own direction. And it belongs to us in our marriage. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. All the ways of a man are right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the spirit. He says, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. And the idea here of committing. Now, many of us, I don't think many of us have experienced this before, but the idea of committing is pushing a boulder up a hill. If we were to take the original Hebrew language here, that's what it's saying. You're committing, you're rolling a boulder. How many people here have rolled a boulder before? Not a stone or a pebble, but a boulder. No, nobody. I'm the only one. No, I haven't either. Right? What if your car runs out of gas? Right? Pushing your car up a hill. The car's not moving, you're pushing the car up the hill. That's what the picture here of committing your works to the Lord. You're pushing this boulder, you're pushing this car up the hill, and as you're pushing with all that you can, God's on the other side, pulling it up the hill for you. The text says here, commit, roll, push your works towards the Lord. He then bears the responsibility for making them stable. So we're going to talk about a vision statement. But the vision can't come from us. The vision cannot belong to us. Because if it's our vision, then we're pushing the car up the hill and we have no help. We talk about something here called stapling. Stapling is when we go to work. It's a good example. They get on our last nerve for the last time. We say, I'm out of this place. I'm sick of this. I didn't sign up for this. My degree tells me I don't deserve this. I'm out of here. And now that I've decided that I'm going to do what I've decided I'm going to do, God, you come along with me and bless me in this job interview. It's called stapling. We staple God to our plans. I have a vision, and now that I've decided this is my vision, this is what this marriage should look like, this is where we're going, this is what we should do. Now that we've decided, staple God to the plan. Right? We want to spend some time today putting God in front of us and not stapling God to what we've already decided. So when it comes to writing a Christ-centered vision statement, you got to have Christ in it. You got to seek Christ. And so I'm going to sort of run you through some. Actually, this is all in your notes. These questions. And I just want to throw them out there. First of all, what I want you to do when you start writing your Christ-centered vision statement, now there's two parts to this. It's kind of redundant, but I did it that way intentionally. The first time this runs through this on your notes, it is telling you about it, and then it looks to be a duplicate, looks a little bit redundant, but it's the second time there's some lines for you to actually do it. Okay? And so the first time,